I moved to Istanbul 5 years ago, and today I will tell you all about it. The first time I came to Istanbul was in 2012, so over 11 years ago, and on and off I used to live in Istanbul. 5 years ago I permanently moved here, and I think I have some great insight for everybody who's interested in living in Istanbul or just wants to get an overview of how life actually is in this huge city. The quality of life here in Istanbul in general. Istanbul changed a lot since I moved here. Istanbul is just so big and so diverse that it offers something for everybody. I'm not saying that life is super easy in Turkey. It is definitely not the easiest country to live in, but in my opinion, it gives good opportunities for everybody who's looking for them. In my opinion, I would say that the quality of life here is still very high. There are lots of things that Istanbul offers that are for free and everybody can afford it. For example, coming here and enjoying the beautiful seaside. There are also lots of small beaches around. There are lots of huge parks also close to the seaside, which is my absolute favorite and one of the main reasons why I love living here. At the same time, the ferries, they are quite affordable, and you can hop on a ferry ride, go to the Princess Island, spend a day there. Of course, the wages in general and in Turkey are not very high in comparison to European countries, but at the same time there are lots of possibilities and opportunities in Istanbul to find jobs and also to earn money here. So this is mainly for the foreigners. How is bureaucracy in Turkey if you want to move here? It is not that difficult to get an ikamet, which means a residence permission for Turkey. But there's some things that make it a little bit harder for anybody who wants to move to Istanbul these days. For example, there are some neighborhoods that are quite full of foreigners from all around the world. So they close these neighborhoods and makes it almost impossible for any new foreigner trying to live there, which are mostly in the center or the more popular neighborhoods. At the same time, applying for an ikamet requires some paperwork and you need to get your information together, but overall it is not something too difficult. In the past, especially in more recent months, it has become a little bit more difficult for foreigners to obtain this residence permission. There are also other cities that are less popular than Istanbul, which makes it a little bit easier for foreigners to actually move here. Something else I want to talk about is media consumption and censorship. First of all, when you are deciding to watch a series on TV, in Turkish TV, all of the series are so long. Usually they are 1 to 2 hours per episode, which is absolutely insane in my opinion, but at the same time I also love to watch my German series on Netflix, German movies, which is not always accessible because of living in Turkey. There are over 100,000 websites that are actually blocked in Turkey. There is a way around it, and that's called a VPN. And I said that so many times already, but Surfshark is a VPN that I generally use for everything I do and look for in the internet. With a VPN you can enjoy any series, any movie that is blocked in Turkey for free, and it absolutely works. I'm using it every day, not only to book cheaper flights, to watch the series that I want to watch, but also to ensure that I'm safe and secure while browsing on the internet. Surfshark is not only a VPN, but it also comes with advanced security features called Surfshark One, which protects you from viruses, data leaks and privacy threats. If you're looking for a good deal for a VPN right now, then just look into my description. You can find the link for the Surfshark VPN over there. And everybody who is using my promo code also get 3 months for free, which is great. So don't wait and get your VPN today. So there are over 15 million people living in Istanbul, which makes it more than twice the size of New York. And I think most people, they don't really understand how extremely big Istanbul actually is. So it comes with a lot of disadvantages and advantages. I used to live in lots of different neighborhoods of Istanbul, like Beşiktaş, Mecidiyeköy, Tarlabaşı, Bostancı, Kartal, and I've seen good and bad things in all of these neighborhoods. So it definitely depends on what you're looking for. For example, I live in Kartal, which is quite affordable, but also really far away from the city center. But it is close to the airport, which is great for me, and close to the seaside. So there are lots of different neighborhoods that are more and less expensive, but overall, in almost every neighborhood, you can find anything you want. There are lots of bazaars, supermarkets, cafes and restaurants which are amazing, and all the people are actually really, really nice. I think the community feeling in Turkey and also in Istanbul is still very high, so people really care about each other. But I would say let's talk about safety in the next part. This is one of the main things you should consider before moving to any country or which neighborhood to choose from in Istanbul. For the first time I was here 10 years ago, and in those years I rarely had any situations where I felt unsafe or even threatened. I traveled around the world and I've seen countries where I didn't feel as safe as here. I think one of the biggest problems that are in Istanbul is actually the topic stalking. So there can be, especially guys, trying to follow you. I have lots of friends that experience something like this, including myself. But in general, I don't feel threatened or unsafe. What I see a lot in Istanbul are people that are doing street music and asking for money. This is more something that you can come across here. The thing with Turkey and Turkish people is that everybody is quite protective of other people. I remember I was in a sketchy neighborhood in Istanbul. It was in the morning, and a guy came and harassed me. Immediately from the balcony, someone screamed at this guy to, go away. So this is something that I realized would not happen in other countries where I used to live. So even though something might happen, other people are always there for you, and they're really helpful no matter in what situation you are in, especially when you are a woman. I'm not saying that everywhere is safe at all times. It is a very big city, so there are also really unsafe places. But in general, I would say traveling in Turkey or living in Istanbul is quite a safe place. In the last 10 years, I never even once had something stolen from me. Maybe I was just lucky, but in my experience, theft and crime is generally quite low in Istanbul. In touristic areas, yes, there are a lot of scams and people are not always honest, especially when it comes to tourists or trying to earn money. But this is a completely different story. As in every big city, at night, it can be dangerous, especially when you are walking alone as a woman. But this is the case everywhere in the world. People here are really nice and friendly, and I never felt unsafe at any time whilst living in Turkey. One of the absolute best things in Istanbul is, of course, the food. Right now we are in an Asian restaurant, and the great thing about this metropolitan city is that you don't only find Turkish food, which is of course so good, but also you find cuisines from all around the world. We're now at this Asian restaurant and they have really good Asian food here as well. Of course, kebab, döner, ciğer, çiğ köfte, everything can be found here in Istanbul. And it is definitely one of the best cities in the entire world when it comes to cuisine and food. Also, food in general is quite affordable when you compare it to other big cities in the world. There are also bazaars where you can get fresh vegetables, fresh fish and meat, and everything that you basically need to cook a really good meal at home. Or you can also go to higher class restaurants where you can get the most expensive, fancy food in the world. So everything is possible in Istanbul. I don't think I need to tell you more about it. No matter what you're looking for, you will definitely find it here. Also, there are lots of German restaurants and German food, which I tried, which I think is also really authentic. When it comes to food, great place to be. Something else we should definitely talk about is how is life here as a student. I was studying here 5 years ago at the Türk Alman Üniversitesi in Beykoz, and I must say that studying there was quite enjoyable. I enjoyed the community life, and also we had a really great university. But this is just my view as someone from abroad. I think we're all interested in knowing how's life as a local student here.
If you are a student or not, it doesn't matter. You have to have money to live in Istanbul. That's for sure. But other thing is, if you don't have money, if you're smart, there are so many options that you can go. For example, every private school has scholarship, like every one of them in every field, every scholar. So it's easy if you don't have money, but as a student, but to live in Istanbul is so expensive. And I'm not a party type person, so I don't have actual community in my school.
But are there lots of social events?
No, that's the reason. There are not so much social events, but only parties. Some places even has, like, you can eat cheaper because you're students, especially in çiğ köfteci. You pay less, but about the transportation, we pay less. Maybe like half You pay like 14 and we pay 7 TL for transportation. It's better.
For a public institution, how much you pay?
For public?
Yeah,
You don't pay anything.
it's free.
Yeah, it's free for public.
Okay, that's great.
But private schools are so expensive, as I remember, because one of my friends were trying to say, okay, I can go public school in like Samsun, for example, but I'll pay the same amount when I go to private school in Istanbul, because my family lives in Istanbul.
And what is the most common subject that people study here?
Law, a lot of law, psychology. There are a lot of psychology students. Family's favorite, medicine.
And do you think there are lots of job opportunities after your study?
Actually, it depends on the person, because I'm like in second. It's my third year in university, and I have been working with a lot of people, including you, for like 2 years, and it really depends on you. But if you are like more outgoing person or like an extrovert, it's more easier for you. But if you're an introvert, you have to have someone.
And how long is your summer break?
It's like 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, let me tell you about the transportation system in Istanbul, because in my opinion this is one of the most important things when moving to a city. As you know, Istanbul is located on 2 continents, Europe and Asia, which makes it sometimes a little bit tricky to travel from one side to the other. In my opinion, Istanbul has one of the best transportation systems in the entire world. You are so lucky to have escalators and elevators at your train stations or basically wherever you want to go in the city, and I think that's a huge benefit. So how do you get from A to B in Istanbul? There are lots of different kinds of transportations. First of all, there is the metro, Metrobus, Marmaray, Dolmuş and taxi, and of course the normal buses. Right now we are close to the seaside, which means that the main transportation system here is the Marmaray train, which is a local train in Istanbul that works mainly on the seaside, and it transports you all the way from Gebze to the other side of Istanbul. There are mainly 3 bridges that connect Asian and the European side of Istanbul, and to make it a little bit faster and easier for people to travel to other points of the sides of Istanbul, there are ferry boats that basically take you everywhere, including the islands that are close to Istanbul, the Princess Islands. There are not a lot of cities in the world that have ferries as a main transportation system in the city. So I think that's something very magical and something very special about Istanbul. So there's something that you definitely need in Istanbul if you want to use the transportation system, and that's the Istanbul card. With this card you can access all of the different kinds of transportations that are available here. So no matter if you want to get on a ferry, then hop onto a bus and use the train after. So this is really, really useful, and something that I really like about it is that Istanbul's transportation system is quite new, and that's the reason why it's so modern. So all the tickets that you get are on this card or on an app. So this makes it really easy and fast to travel around. So I'm really curious to see where this will go in the future. Thank you everybody for watching, and I also want to say thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Remember to click on the link in the description, because you get an exclusive deal with 3 months for free to use the Surfshark VPN. Let me know in the comments if you are living in Istanbul, how you experience life here, or if you're planning to move here. And see you next time.